you were to ask my dad to describe himself, he'd probably say something like, I'm not special, rich, or talented. I'm just a simple man who loves God, loves his family, and please don't draw any extra attention to me. I have no doubt that, we all have no doubt, that many of you are here today feel that our dad was not only extremely loved, but considered extra special. We have been told by many of you that he was a great father figure, and we're just going to talk about a few reasons why he earned that title. One thing that I remember very strongly as a child, because it happened almost every night, was dinner. Mom always made dinner, and we were called to the table, and always before we started eating, we said a prayer, and I think we all took turns praying. But no matter what, after the prayer or after the amen, Mom and Dad always gave each other a little kiss, and that just was normal at our house. And then we could start eating, right? Yes. Right. Okay. We're really blessed to have parents that loved and cared for us so much. Our dad showed just a fantastic example of his love for our mom, and there were always hugs, kisses, hello and goodbye. We always had hugs and kisses for good morning and good night.
I remember the number of times that Dad would give us piggyback rides to the table, whether it be in the morning for breakfast or even going to bed at night. Anytime we could get a piggyback ride from him, that was always special. When we were done with the meal, we didn't leave the table until we asked, may I be excused? And then we'd each thank Mom and give her a kiss and run off, or usually I would hang around and sit on Dad's lap and listen to him and Mom talk after a meal.
I always like to talk about a story that one day Dad had to run into work. It seemed like he worked, well he did, he worked all the time. But I tell the story of going to Anderson Dairy, which he worked in the cottage cheese room there for like 19 years. And we walked into the cottage cheese room, and they had these big stainless steel vats that were actually full of milk, or cultured milk, that they had let set up after the cooking process. And anyway, when we were going through there, it looked like there was cellophane on top of the, as I looked over into the vats, and so being a young kid, I decided that I wanted to just reach up and touch the cellophane. Well, to my surprise, and Dad's too, there was no cellophane, and unfortunately that vat they completely had to throw out. Which Dad let me know about, but the thing that was so neat about it is that he didn't get mad. He ended up taking me down to the cafeteria, and there you could have all the chocolate milk you wanted, and as a kid that was great.
And maybe he wasn't rich, but he taught us how to work and spend wisely. He was very dedicated worker, often getting up 3 a.m. or even before that to go to work. But he also taught us that we give money first to God, and then he was spectacular about always making sure that we had a great birthday, great Christmases, including stockings that he had to get full. So apparently he would put, well, I remember this part, he put apples and oranges and peanuts at the bottom to make them fill up. And Kerry said that there were these chocolate coconut things that none of us liked, but he did, so he got those. And then we always just look forward to those. I think he just really worked hard at making sure that not just us kids, but Mom got presents too. Dad was always saving, and I'm not talking about saving money, but items, like everything. He never ever threw anything out. He would either fix it, repair it. I don't think he ever replaced it. He never would go to the store. We were sitting around the kitchen the other day, and we had lids that had been, the handles had been reconstrued on.
Rigged.
Been rigged to fit
soldered
the pot.
and
Soldered. He had a thermos that he took to work every day, and it didn't have a handle on it, so he soldered one on there. So he had his lunchbox and his handled thermos. I can still see it. The handle was almost bigger than the thermos. It was, and yeah, crock pot. She still uses these things. They still are in the kitchen. And often Mom would try to get rid of stuff and tell him to throw things away. But later she would find them in the garage. Yeah. Yeah. So it was just something that he always did. He never bought for himself, so he didn't have a lot of things, but the things that he had, he held on to.
one of my favorite memories of my dad is the fact that I always heard I was named, or he named me. He had a singer that he would listen to named Tony Fontaine, whose wife's name was Kerry. And the way he described her, she was had dark hair that she would wear over one eye, and apparently he insisted that my mom spell my name Kerry, because when he was a young boy they used to call him Darrell.
Dad was always a huge sports fan. He was a huge fan of going to all of our sporting events, and there was, well, like I said, a number of them that I remembered. One that I guess stood out was actually my senior year in high school. We had made it to the, I believe, the district final to go to state, and we were playing Dowling that day, and we ended up, I got, I don't know, fouled in overtime, and we were down by one at that time, and I had a 1-and-1, and actually, with God's blessing, made both of them. But I remember him talking to me after that. Now, it wasn't right after the game because Dad had to leave work. He came to my game, and then he went back to work. Dad was a very hard worker, and he always did what needed to be done for the family to enjoy time and things together. So that was something I always remembered.
One of the smartest things that my dad ever did was marry my mom. He was very, very proud of marrying a Swedish nurse. But even with that, he never ever, when I was really young anyway, went away from the chance to give her a hard time because her birthday happened to fall on April Fool's Day. I remember many presents that he wrapped inside a huge box, inside another box, after another box, after another box, after another box, after tissue paper. And even one time I remember she got all the way through all the boxes, all the paper, and there was nothing in it. And he said, "Oh, that's right, your present's in this box." And he handed her another one that had the same thing in it. Also remember, I don't know if he got these guys, I was younger, but we were with Dietrich's celebrating birthdays, which we often were. And I don't know if it was his idea, but they made a cardboard cake and put real frosting on the cake and candles that didn't blow out, is that correct? I felt like that was the biggest thing you could ever do to somebody because we didn't get cake, we had to eat ice cream and the frosting off the cardboard box. But she laughed hysterically, of course, and didn't she even try to cut it?
Mm-hmm.
She tried to cut it, it didn't cut.
Yeah, one of yours there was bricks.
What? Oh yes, he did. He wrapped up bricks in some of the boxes, so they were super heavy, and some rocks because it would shake when she shook it. That's right. He had a great sense of humor, and thankfully, so did my mom.
Some of my fondest memories with Dad were after church on Sunday. We would come home and turn on the television and watch NFL football together. Dad was a huge football fan, and certainly those were times that we enjoyed together. I also remember even on especially on Monday night football games, where he'd make a batch of his popcorn up, which we all loved. Dad made the best popcorn in the world. And then sometimes we'd even have ice cream too, so it was great.
I think we talked about Dad's family vacations that he took us on, and one of our favorite places to go was Pawleys Island, South Carolina, where we went with the Dietrich family. And I especially remember all the singing that we did while we were on our vacations, and the great times that we had together. One time in particular, we all 11 of us, there were 5 Allens and 6 Dietrichs, got into our station wagon with Dad behind the wheel, and we had been in Myrtle Beach all day, sightseeing and shopping, and we kids were so anxious to get back to Pawleys Island, and it was about a 30-mile drive. And the entire way there, we sang, "Oh Darrell, won't you please take us home?" And that memory, we just laugh and laugh every time we think about that.
A memory that I have of my dad is spending time in the driveway actually waiting for someone, Kerry, to come out because we were always running late, and right on cue, every time as soon as we were finally backing up, he'd say, and I still say this today, my kids hear it all the time, "We're off like a herd of wild turtles."
Dad knew how to save money. He knew the importance of money, but he also knew how valuable time was. And so he would save up his money to be able to take us on really special summer vacations. And for us, the ultimate summer vacation with Dad was going to Pawleys Island, South Carolina, along with the Dietrichs. And Dad just loved the ocean, and we would spend hours in the waves. He would dive for sand dollars, and he always came up. It seemed like he was the one that came up with the most sand dollars. And we'd walk the beaches. At night we'd have flashlights, and we'd go walking with our flashlights looking for crabs. And I think several times people would be jumping because crabs were running across their feet. We just had such a great time there, and so many memories.
Pliers, drills, the planning was, but Dad had to I remember him taking the sides off of where the tires, equipment stuff
The
went,
spare tire.
and he would
All
stick
of it.
flip-flops and towels back there because he just knew all the extra.
Knew how to pack. The man knew how to pack a car.
He's the ultimate packer.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody can forget the poem that Dad taught us, that crazy poem. So we gotta say it together, right?
Sure.
Okay. Late one morning, in the middle of the night, 2 dead boys got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other. A deaf policeman heard the noise and came to kill the 2 dead boys. One ran around the corner in the middle of the block. The other climbed a tree in a vacant lot.
Good job.
Okay, well, Dad was always, even with with all of us kids. He was one of our biggest fans of any kind of sporting events, but one of the things that I remember was that he always took me up to the punt, pass, and kick competitions. And between events, I would go over and talk to him, and he would always give me words of encouragement and maybe a tip here or there as far as how to properly do the next, whether it was punt, pass, or kick. So he was just a most awesome father, and I think that all of us kids truly appreciated that.
Elaborating on what Doug just said about Dad coming to all of our sporting events, whether it was recreational softball games, basketball games, I don't ever remember him missing them. I was thinking about Saturday mornings when he didn't have to go to work. He was really easy to find because he was either in the garage finding something to do. Mom called it tinkering. He enjoyed doing that a lot, but if football was on, he was watching football. And we all enjoyed watching it with him. He really got into all the games. And sometimes it didn't really matter who was playing, as long as he could watch football. But in basketball too, he loves basketball. And he loved Iowa State just as much as he loved Iowa. And that was just something that I thoroughly enjoyed, especially even after you mentioned before, after church, coming home and watching professional football as well. But I think college sports were probably his absolute favorites. I think all of us just want to express how much we feel for our mom and our dad. There are not enough words to explain how wonderful they are, not individually as much as together. They were just the best parents that anyone could ever ask for, and we don't feel like we deserved them, but if I had to pick, those would be the two I'd pick.
I think that Dad was very selfless. He would always put Mom first, always put his children first, and he never wanted to be in the spotlight. He made every day special, and he was just such a great example of a godly man.
Yeah, and I think that if I were to add to that, I would say that Dad was displayed to us through his example of how that hard work and stick-to-itiveness and and again, how important family was. That was something that was always instilled in us, and we were very blessed. The good Lord has blessed us children to have a wonderful father and mother, but we are dearly will miss Dad, but we do know that he's in a better place now, and we're going to go meet him there someday. Love you guys.
Love you too, that makes it so much easier.
When I try to think about my favorite memory of Grandpa, I almost can't do it. I'm bombarded with 10,000 different small memories that all added up to him being the wonderful grandpa that he was, and the memories that I hold of him. Everything from driving in the old Buick to him rubbing his whiskers on my stomach and making me laugh when I was little, to always carrying around a handkerchief that I thought was so disgusting. he was a wonderful man, and he made me a better man for knowing him. I love him with all my heart, and it's all those little times, those little funny jokes, and he was always laughing, and that's what I'll remember most about my grandpa.
So our favorite memory, not many people can say that their favorite memory about somebody is their last memory, but our favorite memory is when we got together for the holidays. Everybody was back around the table. It was the first time that Nick and I had been around the table in a long time. And Kristen and I were fortunate enough to sit down by Grandpa at the end of the table, who was cracking jokes the whole time. And we were laughing. They were kind of under his breath. We were the only ones who could hear it. But that's my favorite memories of Grandpa, is sitting around the table for birthdays, holidays, when we get everybody around. And he would always be cracking jokes at the end of the table, and you could see the smile on his face, and it made everybody else smile. And we loved him very much, and always loved those opportunities to get together. And certainly the last time that we were with him was one of my favorite memories that we got to have with Grandpa.